Swag One Formula One fans, and welcome to this video. If you do not know, I work in Formula One. My name is Dave, and in this video, we're going to do a little season recap, a season rundown, and my thoughts and my opinions on our newly crowned champion, Lando Norris, and McLaren winning the Drivers' Championship for the first time since 2008, which is almost as wild and crazy as Ferrari not winning since 2007. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What you think of Lando Norris being a newly crowned champion? Do you think he deserved it? What are your thoughts on Max Verstappen coming second and nearly putting up the greatest title fight and a comeback in the history of Formula One? In this video, I'm going to give you my opinions. We're going to do a bit of a season rundown. We're going to do some power rankings. And also, I'm going to provide you my thoughts of who I think we can expect to perform quite well in the pre-season's testing next year before the season begins. And these massive regulation and rule changes at the end of the video, we're also going to do a little meme recap of this season. So, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, guys. Join us in this community of Formula One fans. And there's going to be a wide variety of other Formula One motorsport and automotive related content as well. All right, I've got another video which I'm going to be going up to the top of the hill and sitting on a bench later on, talking to you about some of the cars that I've driven in my life, the ones that impressed me the most, and why. Now, first of all, let me get this sheet of paper out, because as you know, we keep it old school on this channel. We don't do any of this bringing my tablet out, bringing another phone out. I'm filming on the phone, goddamn, all right? So, part number one, what do I think of the championship result? So, first of all, I think either of the three drivers, as I've been saying for quite a while, would have deserved it. Do you know what? If Verstappen, if Lando, or if Oscar Piastri would have won, I would have said either of them deserved it, to be honest. I don't think any of them are like undeserved champions, to be honest. I remember when he first came into the sport, Lando, about 9 years ago. I mean, I've been watching F1 long before that, but watching him come into the sport and wondering, is this guy good enough? What is this guy about? And I've seen some of his overtakes and some of his passion, the way he talked about the sport and enthusiasm. And he, I think, is one of the first drivers who brought this slightly different Gen Z generation into the Formula One that does Twitch live streams, that does react to memes and fucks about a little bit as well. They don't take it just purely as systematically serious as some of the older generation drivers used to in the past. And I think the sport has moved on into this new social media era or whatever it is, essentially. And I remember watching Lando Norris years and years ago and saying, I think this guy's going to be a future champion one day. And so many people would say to me, nah, he's not good enough, he's not good enough. And some people, do you know what? Some, especially McLaren haters, because Jesus Christ, the hate around the F1 community is unbelievable. So overall, look, I think either of the three drivers, Lando Norris, Oscar Piastri, or Max Verstappen, would have deserved this championship in the very end. I think they've all put out a great fight throughout the season. Some of them have had their shortcomings. I think on Max Verstappen's side, it was more so Red Bull and the performance of that car not quite being there at the beginning of the season, which is a little bit of a shame for their title, obviously points. And then when it comes to Lando and when it comes to Oscar, it's a little bit more of a personal performance, a little bit of maybe weight on their shoulders and responsibility, and sometimes making silly mistakes, essentially. However, I think when you put the whole package all together, their performance throughout the season, the way they've come across, the way they've carried themselves, and the fact that, you know, two of these three title fighting drivers have never ever competed for a title before, and this is the first time they had this true proper opportunity to be a Formula One world champion. I think they've carried themselves quite well. Put yourself in their shoes. How would you act? How would you react with this whole world pressure on your shoulders? And let me know in the comments, would you handle the pressure differently? What do you think you would say differently in interviews and stuff like that? Because I saw Lando on a clip on Instagram the other day, and he was basically talking about throughout the season, he's said some things which he, you know, in the heat of the moment, which he didn't quite mean, which have come across the wrong way. And I think we're all a little bit like that, right? It's not just in Formula One. We all say things in the heat of the moment. I say things in the heat of the moment, for God's sake, do you know what I mean? And sometimes you don't mean these things, and sometimes you will backtrack on these things, and you will change your mind as the season goes along. So, yeah, I think overall, all three of the drivers carried themselves well, and I'm incredibly, incredibly impressed, if I may just add, with how Max Verstappen has taken his second position in the championship, and technically this loss and not winning the Drivers' Championship. He's really grown, you know. I remember watching him enter the sport as a 16-year-old on the brink of turning 17 years and years ago with Toro Rosso. Yeah, he was a very brash, just very aggressive young talent, and I think we all knew he's going to be one day a future champion if he gets the right car underneath him. But he's really bloody grown over the years, hasn't he? Like, he's really matured. He acts in a mature way. He doesn't lash out as much as he used to. He doesn't shift the blame onto other people, onto his team, onto other drivers as much as he used to.
That you are through, Max. Yeah, I don't give a if I'm V10. It's just execution.
And I don't think he possesses as much hatred and animosity as much as he used to in the past. Do you know what? Especially in the last few seasons, as he was winning all of these championships with Red Bull, I'm actually really impressed with his personal development and how he's really grown as a person. That's something that Oscar maybe can have a look at and like try and take a leaf out of Max's book in terms of every loss or every time you don't succeed in something, you still win because you learn lessons which you otherwise wouldn't have gained. Because if you would have gone through your life or certain challenges without failing and always just succeeding, you wouldn't really take as much information out of that, and you wouldn't learn as much as you do when you fall flat on your face and you have to get back up and build yourself back up. I think, yeah, very impressed with how Verstappen took it. And also, Oscar, heads up, brother. You're still a young lad, very young lad, younger than me, in fact. But yeah, I think he's still got quite a long way to go. And I think next season is going to be very bloody interesting. How are the rules going to change up? The demise of DRS, rest in peace, DRS, by the way. Some of you might love that, some of you might hate that. I think we've had some great races in the past with DRS. I also remember the introduction of it and how heavily criticised it was at the very beginning of the entire hybrid era. And a lot of people did not like it because it essentially made racing and overtaking a lot simpler in a straight line rather than having to actually battle back and forth. And it made overtaking a little bit less yo-yo-y like it was in the 2000s in some of the cars like Alonso and Schumacher. If you watch some of those races back in the day, they would just overtake each other, one another, back and forth, entire race essentially. There were certain track sections that didn't have any DRS, which allowed the drivers to overtake each other a little bit more naturally. But I think over the years, I've really gotten used to the whole DRS thing, just like years and years ago. Do you remember KERS? The whole KERS button, like the boost button we used to have on the steering wheels in the cars. I think people have gotten used to that very, very quickly as well. So rest in peace, DRS. You'll be missed by some people at least. And let's bring on this new iteration of DRS, drug reduction system, or whatever we're going to have. I don't know if you've seen the new 2026 cars. There should be some sort of movable front wing aero, as well as probably some movable rear wing aero, but not to the same extent that DRS was. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how that's going to impact racing and cars in general. God, it's so sunny out here. What a beautiful day. Did Lando Norris deserve to win the championship? And I personally think, yes, he did. I personally think, look, you can't knock any of these three drivers, realistically. I think they've gone through turmoil in this season. They've gone through hell of a lot, especially Lando has gone through hell of a lot of social media hatred, social media criticism. And I think in some ways he's dealt with it well. In other ways, not as much. But you've got to remember, he is still a young lad. I think he's roughly about the same age as me. And I can only imagine myself in his shoes and what it's like with the entire world watching you, some hell of a lot of people criticizing you. And only thing that I would point out maybe is the fact that I think very often in some of the interviews he mentioned Max Verstappen way too many times, which has essentially shown this image of Max living in his head rent-free. And I think oftentimes he could have maybe been a little bit happier with some of his performances, some of the team wins, and tried to boost the overall team spirit by going, do you know what? We won. Yeah, it was a struggle. Yes, Max was behind us very close. As what did he call him? Chucky or something like that, like a horror film character chasing him down, which does amplify this sort of like living in his head rent-free and be like, you know, you got this, instead of celebrating your own successes and instead of pushing your own team forwards and focusing on your own lane, you've got this other person that you think might threaten your championship creeping in a little bit. It's just to give a contrast, it's a little bit maybe like the whole Damon Hill and Schumacher in the 90s, the title fight between Williams and Ferrari. Let me know in the comments below, what would you parallel this to? But I think overall, Lando 100% deserves it, and congratulations to McLaren, congratulations to Lando, and let's see what the next season brings on. I'm buzzing. Also, shut your mouth, whoever that crow is. Listen, we're keeping it fresh. I'm going to change the angle up a little bit here, give you a little bit of a different angle of this lovely sunny field today. Just one more touch-up I wanted to add onto this whole Antonelli hate and just this whole madness around the F1. I mean, look, this reminds me of the whole Verstappen fans against Lewis Hamilton fans a few years ago, especially during 2021 Abu Dhabi final. I think people are losing their heads, man. And I think this is not just a Formula 1 issue. I think this is also a football issue as of recently, especially with people like sending each other death threats and losing their heads. And if you are someone who is so angry and so wound up by sport, just switch it off, mate. You clearly, it shows the unhappiness in your life. and discontent and the immaturity in you, like your hate on somebody else and your unhappiness with your own life is reflected in that hate. So before you comment on someone and hate someone and like swear at someone or send someone death threats or just disrespect someone for absolutely no reason because of unhappiness or jealousy or discontent in your own life and in your own character, just think how you're going to come across to those people, because if a person is mature enough, they will read you like a book and they'll understand that, oh wow, you know, in the long run they're actually going to end up feeling sorry for you instead of being angry at you, you know. Now here we go, power rankings and who I think we can expect to see do well next season with these 2026 regulation changes, and who do I think personally might perform quite well or have a massive improvement over their previous year's cars or this season's car in the February and you know, pre-season testing essentially at the beginning of next year. So let me give you some of my insider thought. So let's start off with the bottom of the championship, Alpine. I think Alpine have had a huge struggle this season, and I think since the very beginning their money, time and energy was already invested into the next season, and I think with the iteration of Mercedes, I think they're going to obviously have a huge improvement. It is sad to see that Renault as a manufacturer is dropping out of the sport after so many decades, after so many successes with various teams that supplied over the years, Williams and whatnot, and it's a shame to see that. However, I think there's going to be a large improvement over this season's last place in the championship, and I think we can expect some, hopefully, bright things from Alpine. I wish them the best of luck, and I hope that they do improve. I think it's one of those teams that is historic, especially that Enstone base, and they deserve, all right? They actually deserve, you know, there's so many good, hard-working people over there, so many dedicated and passionate people over there as well, and I think they do deserve a better performance and they do deserve a better car, and I think it all goes hand in hand, and not just the engine and performance itself, but the attitude of the team and people within that team, and I hope that they can adapt to this new engine and this new way of working, if that makes any sense. I think hopefully Haas are going to see some good improvement with, I don't know if you've seen, but Toyota Gazoo Racing being their main title sponsor for the next season, and I wish them the best of luck as well. It's a plucky little team, and I remember when they first entered the sport in 2015 and how everyone was doubting them, and that incredible entrance to the sport with the Australian Grand Prix, basically their first race of the season. I think they finished 4th and 5th or something like that. They've got a great couple of drivers in their roster, especially Ollie Behrman, which is clearly an incredibly passionate and very fast young talent. I think at the beginning of the season we were a bit worried about him in Australia especially, and in some of the early races, like how is he going to pick up the sport? Is he going to make a lot of mistakes? He was a little bit brash at the very beginning. I think a little bit skittish, maybe a bit like Mick with having a few extra crashes when Mick was at Haas, etc. But I think he's really turned that around, and he's blown Esteban out of the water, to be honest. And we clearly know that Ocon is a good driver, obviously from history. Look, he's had some good podiums, and he's obviously clearly a good performing driver. So Haas, I think next season is going to improve. However, I'm a little bit worried about those Ferrari engines, to be honest. Clearly, we can talk about Ferrari in a second, but yeah, obviously they've struggled a lot this season, and it was very painful watching Lewis and even Charles, but to be honest, Charles I think is just used to the Ferrari depression modes, to be honest. Seeing him over the years, just life getting sucked out of him in these interviews is very sad. We're going to do a very quick rundown. I think Sauber, which is going to be turning into Audi next season, what an incredible, exciting opportunity. I cannot wait to see how Audi do. I cannot wait to see how that iconic Hillwell Swiss team performs next season, and I can't wait to see the new Audi livery. I think that's going to mix it up quite a bit as well, and best of luck to them. I think they're going to be developing their own engine, Audi engine, aren't they? Which is it's going to be great to have another engine manufacturer in the sport, so best of luck to them. I hope they improve, and I hope that we see some exciting result performances in a pre-season testing from them, although we all have to be real, and a lot of the pre-season testing, even when a team has a good fast performing car, they do sandbag, because you don't want to reveal your performance to all the other teams and show them why they should be afraid of you for them to get cracking and working harder with their car development. You want to downplay it, because I would do the same thing, you know, I mean, try and downplay things so that you don't reveal your cards, right? It's a bit like poker in a way. Next, Cadillac. So I'm looking forward to the driver pairing of Checo and Valtteri at the beginning of the next season, and see how them two get along, because obviously, look, they're both mature drivers, they're both experienced drivers in the sport, they've got experience from you know, various other teams in the past have been in the sport for a long time. And I like the fact that Cadillac have played it really safe, and hopefully they can capitalize on that by not having too many crashes, not having too many accidents, and not having to spend too much money on repairing these cars next season from their budget cap, but instead spending it on development. So I hope that they're going to do well next season. Let me know in the comments, what are your thoughts on how these new additions of Formula One teams are going to do in the sport next season. Cadillac, Audi, and Ford partnering up with essentially Red Bull as well. Let us know in the comments below. I want to know your thoughts on who you think is going to perform well next season. I think RB, we're going to have, I think, Lindblad, and we're going to have Liam Lawson in there. And I think, again, two young, talented drivers. I think Lawson with enough experience in Formula One to carry that team, and Lindblad is going to be able to whadup is going to be able to hopefully pick up some pieces and some leftover points when the other drivers and the other teams that are higher up the pecking order are going to have accidents and stuff like that. And just like this season, by the way, RB or Vicab, whatever they're called now, to me, they're still Toro Rosso. That's just the iconic name of the team. And I think they're still going to do really well. Like this season, they finished 6th, I think, just behind Williams, which we're going to talk about next. And what an impressive performance by Williams. What an impressive step up from a few seasons ago when we saw them struggling, not only financially, but also performance-wise, and barely getting any points on the table. And look at them now, flying high. Carlos, I don't want to talk too much, but it's still the last Ferrari driver to get a podium. So, yeah, a little bit wild. And I hope that Williams continue to get up there in the pecking order where they deserve to be an iconic Formula One team. I think no matter which team you support in Formula One, you've got to have a bit of love for Williams, you know, being one of those teams who made a lot of people's childhoods in the 90s. I think that team deserves to be up there in the pecking order. And having two talented, good, quick drivers, I think they can do that. And with the development of their car and with how well they were able to keep building up this season, not only in their strategy, in their car development, in their connections between the atmosphere of the team and fans and everything, I think they've got huge potential for next season. And I would put some money on Williams as well next season, to be honest. I hope they will flourish. Let me know in the comments what you think about that. Now, Aston Martin, next team we should talk about. I think they're going to have a very interesting season. Adrian Newey being the actual principal of the team, which, although, by the way, I think is only symbolic and only temporary, only up until he gets his own people that he needs in there in order to compete for the championship in that Aston Martin car. Obviously, they've got Alonso, they've got a capable team, capable facilities, loads of backing, and I think they're going to do quite well next season as well, especially with that Mercedes engine. I would put some amount of money on them as well, to be honest. Now, Ferrari, oh boy. I think, where do we even begin? This season was a total disaster for them, coming undone later on in the season with John Elkann, the owner of Ferrari, just having a go at the drivers, and the drivers just having absolutely zero positivity about the car, about the future performance, or just anything to do with the team. I think just like anyone else in motorsport, in Formula One or anywhere, you got to appreciate and love Ferrari. I mean, the iconic red team. Anytime you see a red car, you think of Ferrari. And I would just love to see them perform well and get up there in the pecking order. But I think they've got such a long way to go, not only in their car development and the way that they're going, but also Lewis maybe learning Italian, the actual atmosphere within the team being a little bit more positive, a bit more focus on actual strategy and actually making good calls rather than just chit-chatting and enjoying the Italian vibe. I think, as much as I love the team, I'm a little bit worried about them going into the next season, especially hearing Charles and Lewis in the post-race interviews just being so negative. And even when they get asked about next season and seeing the potential that the car might have next season, I have not heard a lot of good positive feedback from the drivers. So I hope that's not true, and I hope that Ferrari can perform well next season. And I hope that they will surprise us all, by the way, in the pre-season testing. Let me know your thoughts on Ferrari performance this season, and if you think that they're going to have a bit of a step up and an improvement in performance next season. Now, next season, I think Mercedes are going to be a bit of a dark horse. And I think from what I've understand and from what I've heard from the drivers, from what I've seen around the industry, I think they're cooking up something big. And I would be a little bit worried if I was the other teams about what Mercedes are going to bring, because let's not downplay it. Mercedes are a huge worldwide corporation, one of the largest companies in the world. And even though we have budget caps, the amount of people pool, the amount of brains they have within that, their facilities, which is insane, by the way. I think they've got an incredible potential to get as much as possible out of this next season's regulations changes. And I would love to see how they perform next season. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, for example. Do you think Mercedes will bring it back? Do you think Toto still has what it takes to get that team to the top of the championship? And what do you think if they don't perform well next season, and if they do still struggle like they have over this ground effect era? Do you think that Toto might feel a bit threatened in his position? Because I think, just like Christian Horner, for example, of course, Toto owns some percentages of AMG, you know, Formula One, Petronas Racing, whatever is the full name of the team. I don't think he's going to lose his place out as easily as Christian did. However, also, what's your thoughts on Christian Horner potentially joining Aston Martin, by the way? I think that would be wild. Imagine Newey and Horner back together at Aston Martin. How the turntables now, aren't they? And that leaves us with the last two teams, and that obviously being McLaren and Red Bull. I think McLaren are going to build up on this season's success, and I think we've seen reasonably early on, you know, halfway throughout the season, when the McLaren upgrade stopped coming, and they've started to maybe struggle with their performance, and their performance dropping off a little bit on some of their tracks that didn't suit their car later on in the season. And that not just being a driver's mistake or driver's or strategy fault, but I think on some of the later on tracks in the second half of the season, the last quarter of the season especially, we've seen a little bit of their performance dropping off because a lot of the energy and time was already focused on next season. And these massive regulation changes, you've got to remember, the reason why a lot of these teams like Alpine have written off this season so early on is because the rule changes and the potential to maximize the speed of their car, and these obviously out of these rule changes next season, which are the largest rule changes which we've had in years, by the way, they would have obviously invested a lot of their people manpower into the next season. So I think I wouldn't expect McLaren to have a massive drop off next season. Maybe they won't straight away from the beginning be, you know, challenging for wins, but I think as the season goes along, they'll be well in that pecking order. And I think the exact same thing about Red Bull. Obviously, we've seen them adding upgrades, to be honest, and you know, changing the engines and floors and stuff like that up until the end of the season in order to give Max the run that he needs to challenge for the season title. But I do still think that Red Bull have invested a lot of their money and manpower into developing next car well early on in the season, from what I understand. And yeah, it's going to be a very interesting mix-up next season. I hope I haven't missed any other teams. Have I missed any other teams? I think I've got them all, right? Audi, Ferrari, Alpine, Aston, Cadillac, Red Bull, Haas. It's got to be a choice. 10 F1 teams, all right, let's chill out. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to head indoors and we're going to look at a bunch of memes from the end of this season, react to them because I've not seen these memes before. And after that, I'm going to sign out and wish you guys a lovely Christmas and this off-season, this winter break, and for us to get back. All right, here we go. It's funny, but it's also very sad because during the race, I was just watching, I was buzzing, I was like, come on. At the very beginning, Charles was like just about keeping up with Lando, and I was, as much as I wanted Lando to also win because he deserved it, I was also a little bit like, just give us a little bit more sauce for this final race, do you know what I mean? I love the creativity people have with this shit nowadays. It's fucking brilliant. What's this shit? I hate AI. I actually fucking hate AI shit at this point. It's ridiculous. Joke.
Oh, Felipe. Felipe.
I love this one.
Ciao,
I've seen this one before, but it just never fails to make me laugh.
Bene, benissimo, benissimo.
What's he holding the wheel with his elbow?
When the 5 red lights go out, the new season is underway.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
How do you find?
Do you know what? Just to add to that, it was actually at one point where Carlos pointed out how often they point at the girlfriends instead of the actual racing and action on track. And I was like, just fucking get over it. We don't want to see celebrities. We don't want to see the patterns on the drivers. We're here to watch the action on the track. So next season, F1 production, come on, do better.
With Ferrari. I don't.
Anything positive you can take into tomorrow? Will it be a bit of a testing session for you, the sprint race, do you feel?
The weather's nice.
Bro is mentally
So it's
checked
been a
out.
difficult weekend. How do you reflect on
I
that?
feel that. I've been there.
Horrendous weekend.
Safe to say, I don't think he's going to be in a Ferrari for too long. That's my 2 cents worth, I think.
So lap time deleted for Verstappen.
Don't leave the name before.
Verstappen, lap time deleted. Verstappen, lap time deleted.
Yeah, well, how
And box now, box for hard. Stay out.
I'm concerned for these guys now. I think Ferrari needs me to come and join them to sort this shit out because I'm getting a bit concerned for them at this point. What do you reckon in the comments?
I believe we were made to be together. I probably don't. This is a new episode of...
It's one of them when you've got one of those people that are just so obsessed with you, but you're like, just give me space, I'm alright. That's like this partnership duo going on.
This isn't funny, Amber.
You know the banana in Fortnite? I have it as an outfit.
I love that clip. I love that clip.
Yeah, Charles was just always there, wasn't he? He was annoying. I just thought, I love Charles. He's a great guy. He came up and congratulated me. So, but I told him how annoying he was. He was always there in my mirrors the whole race. Always.
That's what racing is at the end of the day. You just always got to be there, innit? Alright. Alright.
Why you have a picture of me in your room?
What is this shit?
My engine's ready to explode.
What? That sounds a bit dodgy there, for a second.
Hey, you told me the reason you messed up turn 1 was because of me. Who did that? Someone to be blaming me. We're medium.
I saw this one actually before, and I imagined it with Lando on here. Like, come on, George, why would you believe the media? Of course, they're going to fabricate and make up any sort of bullshit to get clicks and views. Like, yeah. This one never fails to make me laugh. It's brilliant. I love the eagle scream, Leclerc. Well, gotta get out of this shithole now. Yellow. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this little video, this season recap / rundown and meme review from the season. I hope you enjoyed the championship battle and the close battle we've had at the end of the season. I think earlier on in the season, we've all expected it to be wrapped up by midway, by the summer break, because McLaren were just so strong. And then they've dropped off a little bit. Then Max have just creeped in. Then we had a bit of a Papaya rules, Lando Oscar battle. And I think in the end, we've all had fun, even as someone who's a neutral fan between these two teams, and someone who just loves to see good, strong racing and the adrenaline in that racing myself, has had a lot of fun as a neutral fan. So let me know, guys, what you thought of this season, this Formula 1 season, in the comment section below. Do you think the drivers who have won deserve it? How would you have handled some of the championship pressure if you were in the driver's shoes? Try and put yourself in their shoes. And guys, enjoy the winter break. Have a lovely Christmas. Have a lovely downtime. Relax a little bit. Recharge your batteries. And next season, we are back to it. I'm going to cover next season, hopefully, the entire season, every single one of the races. I'm going to try and react. I'm going to try and give you some of my more insights of a Formula 1 insider and what it's like working in Formula 1, and give you my perspective on the sport and results from that perspective. And also, we're going to do some other content, some automotive content, some travel content, and some other motorsport series and bits adding into it as well, hopefully. So, by the way, just a little, give you a little wink. We might have some Formula 1 guests from the industry coming onto the channel, standing right here next to me, or maybe in a future place where we can sit down and have a chat, all right? So, it's going to be exciting. Tag along, join us, have a lovely winter, enjoy Christmas, guys. And when it comes to Formula 1, season's reactions and race reactions, I'll see you guys next year. But do not worry, we're not going anywhere. I'm going to be here the entire winter, the entire build season, smashing out content for you each week. So tag along, guys, and have a good one, and I'll see you guys in the next one, all right? Yeehaw!